Today, we are going to talk about life purpose and how we can connect our life purpose to our actions, our goals, and also make a living out of it. So it's a subject I've been really passionate about for many years because I believe for a long time that my life purpose was my career, was my job. And until I really dive into it, I realize, oh my God, there's a big difference between what I'm doing and what really my purpose is about. And so I want to explore those subjects with you and kind of give you some pointers about it. And for those of you who don't know me or don't know too much about my past, it's not really about talking about me today, but I just want to share a little bit about it. And I invite you in the meantime to make sure you have a notepad and a pen because we'll be sharing a lot of different information so you can take notes about it. And there'll be a few exercises during the call today. So if you don't have that, just pick up one. There's also a chat box here on our call. So if you want to, if you have questions about what I say, if there's things you want to ask, feel free to use the chat box to ask questions. So as some of you know, some of you maybe don't know, but I had a career as a CEO of different companies for many years, and then as an entrepreneur. And I was successful by all the metrics of society, meaning having a career, making a lot of money, raising a lot of money, having a big team. But I was not feeling very fulfilled about it. Something was missing. There was something else calling. And I had a very hard time connected to it. And that's what brought me 10 years ago now on an exploration about really my sense of purpose on this planet. Why am I here? You know, what's bringing me here? And what I could do about it. And so long story short, 10 years later, now I'm leaving off my work, which is to do shamanic healing and healing hearts. I'm building a retreat center on my land. And I've been able to transition from that career into something that's much more fulfilling, where I wake up every morning and I'm really excited about who I am and what I'm doing. And I feel that alignment. Like when I connect to it, I know exactly that I'm here for that. And that feels really good. And that's the thing I want to share about because I believe that everybody deserves to have that feeling inside that, you know, when you are somewhere or you're doing something, you know exactly it's what you're meant to be doing. That's where you're meant to be. And I have to say that that path really and that exploration came from my success and my failure. So, you know, also knowing that exploring our failures is really important in that process of exploring that life purpose. And my goal here is that you can bring a spiritual container to your life, to everything you do. Not just maybe your spiritual practice, not maybe just your Reiki practice, your meditation practice, but your connection with your clients, your anything you're doing, so that there's that container around you. And I think that's an important point about it, because there's a distinctions we want to make between being in action and directing our life, and that's often through our heart or our mind, very often, and being carried by spirit, being carried by something greater than us that's pushing us toward a certain direction. And if you can feel that in your body, there's already a certain tension when we connect to it between that place of surrender and allowing something greater than us to guide us on this mission, on this purpose, and our free will, our intention. You know, are we taking the right step? Are we listening to it? Are we acting upon it? And really the dance that we have to do on that connection between life purpose and our mission in life and making money out of it, making a career out of it, is being able to dance between that tension, that allowing and surrendering and opening to listen to a deeper voice, and that capacity to be in action. So what are we going to talk about today? I have a lot of points on my document, and I'm going to try to fit that within an hour and 10 minutes. But we are going to talk about life purpose, obviously, and how do we find it. And I'm going to give you a very simple exercise that allow to find that life purpose, at least to start diving into it. I want also to talk about what is the difference between life purpose and long-term goals. Very often when people talk to me about their life purpose, in fact, they are talking about their long-term goals. And it's two very different things. And I think there's a lot of confusion about the two, for most people. The next things I want to talk about is what is the way that we can create that fulfilling life? What I was talking about earlier, which is how to wake up in the morning and feel, you know what, I'm really excited about what I'm doing. And I'm feeling I'm serving something greater than myself, because that life purpose has to go beyond just ourselves. I'll talk about how to make a living out of it. I'll then talk about why we need first to do a deep exploration about our limiting belief. That's called shadow work, and exploration on self-worth, on money, on success, on the tension between business and spirituality, and can this fit together? And we do kind of a deep dive into that. That's something I want to talk about. I also explore what I call the 4 golden keys of finding that life purpose. Very often we think about, what I love and what I'm good at, what the world needs, but it's missing often a component to it, which is why most people have a hard time actualizing it. Then I talk about how to go from that idealistic vision or that dream into an actionable plan. So how to make a plan out of it, a 5-year plan, a 1-year plan, and a daily and weekly plan, which is essential in really executing that purpose. And how do we bring spiritual meaning to those steps. And then I'll talk to finish about why do most people fail to create the life of their dream? What's in the way, basically? And we all have that. I still have some of it. What's blocking me from really getting to that bigger potential? And it's always good to know that, because if we don't do that exploration, we can be stuck into what's called limiting belief, what we think we are good at, or what we think, okay, this is it. I've done it. I found it. And we limit ourselves from going into something much bigger. So first, and I want also to share that this is just an introduction to it. Obviously, there'll be a longer discussion to go deeper into the subject, and I'm going to offer a workshop starting on February 6th, which will be online. So there'll be 3 2-hour workshops, one on February 6th, one on February 12th, one on March 5th. 3 times 2-hour workshop, where we'll have a private group sharing on Facebook, and we'll have a deepening of exploring those tools and working with you more one-on-one or as a small group to really go deeper into that if you're interested about it. But I'll talk more about that at the end. So first, I would like to ask you to just close your eyes and to take a deep breath in. And just to feel your body, because the exercise we're going to do is about feeling the sensation about our body and what the question I'm going to share with you are bringing into your body. So there's no right or wrong answer here about my questions. I just want you to try to feel your body. So when I put the first question, which is, what is my life purpose? And if you ask yourself that, what is the main reaction you're experiencing right now in your body? And just stay with your body. What is my life purpose? What is it? What are you feeling? Are you feeling tensions? Are you feeling excited? Are you feeling angry, frustrated? Maybe a mix of all of it. And just feel into it. And then let's flow into a second question. Do you think there is really a meaning to life? And just feel your body. Is there really a meaning? And it's a pretty big question, obviously. And you have probably your own answer to that, your own feeling in your body about it. Have you ever had a true experience of uncovering it? This moment where you really uncovered it? And do you feel that now? Can you feel into that? Maybe a moment in your life where you felt, I think I got it. I think I know what it is now. What does it feel in your body when you connect to that? My next question is, do you have a sense of what you're really asking for? Are you asking about a feeling? Are you asking about a job? Something you want to create, a company? Asking about a goal, a way of life? So do you have really a sense of what you're already asking for when you're asking about that purpose in your life? And whether you do or not, what's the real reason you are searching? What's the real reason that called you maybe to be here on that call, or maybe to ask that question to yourself? What is behind it? And if you were to find this life purpose, what need would it feel inside of you? Where would it feel inside if you were to find it? What do you imagine would change for you? And if you don't discover the meaning of life here, would you give up searching ever? Maybe you're like, no, there's something burning deeper here. And if you could speak directly to life, what would you ask? What would you say? So those questions, and you can come back with me and just let it settle inside of you. But those questions are really essentials to start finding this life purpose. This question of why we are here. And you can see that it goes way beyond probably thinking of long-term goals, where I want to live, what do I want to do. I'm reading a beautiful book at the moment called Soulcraft from Bill Plotkin. I think I shared about it online. And Bill shared that we have a place in nature, meaning that we have a unique role where we have been created, but nature also has a place for us. So there's duality, this unique role that we have, and this place for us, which is a role that's connected to a greater collective. So what's my place in nature, and what place nature has prepared for me? The oak trees has a place in nature, but each tree has a role to play wherever it is. And that's this exploration that I want you to start feeling here and exploring. So let's come back together here and just, let that settle. And maybe it opens some questions or some tensions or some feeling, and that's good. That's what we're trying to feel here. And so I want to talk a little bit first about what is the difference between the life purpose, our life purpose, and long-term goals. Because very often we kind of mix the two. And long-term goals are really steps on the way and the means to get there. And they are, where do I want to live? Do I want to live in the countryside? Do I want to live in the city? Do I want to work for someone? Do I want to have my own business? Do I want to be financially independent? Do I want to be married? Well, those are all long-term goals. It's like, how do we see our life? Or maybe I want to create a retreat center and I want to live in the countryside and I want to do that type of work. Those are long-term goals. They are not life purpose. Life purpose are deeper than that. They are broader than that. Life purpose is a connection to a big idea, a big dream. So when I did that exercise, in fact, it was almost 10 years ago with one of my teachers, I came out with this one phrase, which was about serving the greater collective, living with people that were aligned with my vision, healing the earth, and learning from nature. That was the 4 elements of my life purpose that I came with at the time. And I was a CEO in a company. So none of those life purpose elements were really could be materialized, where I was. And that's when I started to see, I need to get on different steps and have a plan, because I need to align that purpose with some long-term goals that can fit into it. So if you're thinking, my long-term goals is to live, in the countryside, that's not your purpose, because your purpose is deeper than that. Your purpose is probably have a connection to nature. Your purpose might be to learn from nature. That may be the reason why you want to live in the countryside or you want to live in a certain environment. But it's not the purpose. The purpose is much deeper than that. So if you think life purpose in terms of long-term goals, the problem is that you're going to limit yourself. Because say, I want to live in the countryside, and then you live in the countryside and somehow you don't feel that fulfilled anymore. It goes well for 6 months or a year, and then it's still burning question there. And then you realize, that was not it. Or you want to get married, and you get married, and it's like, maybe that's not it. Or you wanted to open your retreat center, or you wanted to run your company, and then you have your company running, and you're like, still burning question there. Because we mixed the long-term goals and what it should look like with the purpose that's behind it. So the purpose really requires to go to a deeper exploration. So there is an exercise that I want to share with you. It's called a 20-minute exercise to find our life purpose. So I know that 20 minutes seems a little bit extraordinary to be able to find our life purpose in 20 minutes. So I have to say that it can take 60 minutes, it can take 90 minutes, but it should not take 20 days. And that's fine with it. But that's a good exercise. And I know it's going to sound probably very silly exercise and very simple, but I want to give you, the exercise, and, we'll play with it if you come at the next workshop, but you can play with it on your own. So you take a blank sheet of paper, and you can put that on your computer, or you can put a piece of paper by hand, and you write at the top, what is my true purpose in life? And you write an answer, any answer that pops up in your head. It's about getting in the flow. Just write anything. It doesn't have to be a complete sentence. It could be a short phrase. And you repeat that third step to write an answer again and again and again until it makes you cry. Until something very emotional comes out of you. If it doesn't make you cry, you haven't found it. So I know that could be like, that's it. It's a very simple exercise. So for some people, that exercise makes perfect sense. For others, it seems really stupid. And usually it takes around 15 to 20 minutes to clear your head from all the clutter of the social conditioning of what you think about your purpose in life is. So the false answer will come from your mind and your memories at the beginning. But when the true answers start to arrive, you're going to start feeling that it comes from a different source. It comes from somewhere else. And if we are not very, connected to our heart or to our soul and to what's there, it might take us 100, 200, 500 answers. But you'll be struck at some point by some answers that come with that emotion very powerfully. And usually, typically after 50 to 100 answers, you might want to quit. You might just say, that doesn't work for me. You might feel the urge to get up, make an excuse to do something else, think this is stupid, that doesn't work for you. So I invite you that when you're feeling like you want to give up, to push through that resistance and to keep writing. Because the resistance is going to pass at some point. And your ego is going to fight everything to have you stop, to think it's stupid, to think it doesn't work for you. So don't worry about that. Push through that resistance. And so when I did this exercise, it took me about 45 minutes. I think I reached my final answer around step 215. There was partial pieces, maybe at step 15 and step 50 and then step 120. But really is when I get to the 200 and close to the final one that it was starting to be really emotional. And I got into that beautiful space of sharing that life purpose that I've shared with you earlier. The beauty of it also compared to a long-term goal is that that life purpose, when we found it, doesn't change. When I read it now, 10 years later, still the same. And that's a beautiful indication that you've got to the core of who you are. It should not change. It's like, oh, I wanted to do that when I was in my 20s and now I'm in my 40s and I want something else. And I think life will be like that. And this is not life purpose. This is how it's going to look like. But it doesn't go to the deeper experience of what's behind it. So really invite you to explore that, to do that exercise, and to see what's there for you. So how to make a living out of that life purpose. So once we start getting it, once we start finding it, it might seem like a very utopical life purpose, like the one I shared with you earlier. My life purpose, when I look at it, and I was, in a corporate career at the time, I was like, how do we make money out of that? How does a life look like out of that? And very often, very quickly, we go back to long-term goals. We keep mixing it. It was like, I need to do this, and I need to do that, and and we mix the way we should live, and where we should live, and with who we should live. We mix long-term goals with life purpose. And so we reduce the possibility for our life purpose to unfold. And if we do that, the problem is, like I said earlier, you might move to the place you want to live and leave the city to live in the countryside. You might set up your life that looks like what you want, but you're just setting it up with long-term goals, and you still are going to have that burning question about your life purpose. So it's really two very different things. And I cannot insist enough on that. It's usually the case for most people I've done life purpose coaching with. I've done that mainly with clients. I've never really taught it in a workshop. Is that people get, when they talk about their life purpose, they're talking about long-term goals. They're not talking about their life purpose. It's missing that component that we just talked about the last 15 minutes. So now I want to move on to another subject that's very related to that. And yeah, if you have questions, don't hesitate to drop your question on the chat box. So it's why you need first to know and work and heal your limiting belief on self-worth, on money, on success, on business and spirituality, to really find your life purpose, or at least executing it, because you could find it, like the one I found 10 years ago. But until I started working on my limiting belief, I would not be able to visualize it, or at least to materialize it, because you're going to still see your own world with where you are, and you're going to have that, and it's going to feel like a utopian dream, something very remote and hard to achieve. So I want to give you some example, and I invite you maybe to write about it as I talk about it, which is to reflect on your own limiting belief or your own self-belief, because we don't see them as limiting. We just see it as a belief. That's who I am and what I want in life. And we call it belief, or we call it, that's what I am. But we don't always open the door. Is that a limiting belief? Is that limiting me from literally stepping into something much bigger than what I thought is possible? So the first one to explore is the one on self-worth. And the one on self-worth usually come up with phrase like, oh, I cannot do this. Or someone has done this before and is doing it better than me. Or I'm not good at this. Or who am I to do this? Or I don't know how to do this. This sounds crazy. So all of those ones are self-worth issues, self-worth limiting belief. Usually it's I cannot do this. Or, I don't have the resource. I don't have the money. I'm too old. My teacher can do that way better than I do. I'll never be able to do that. Nobody ever said that before, I'm sure here. So we all have this set of self-worth, limiting belief. And to do an exploration here, you have to explore your failure belief and the reasons why you failed, because that's usually that come from there, those limiting beliefs. You tried something, you failed, and then it became a belief. That's what you are. Maybe you try to, I don't know, swim and to be a good swimmer, and you fail at it, and you're like, well, I'm not a good swimmer. I'm never going to be a good swimmer. And so that become a limiting belief. So when we talk about limiting belief and the reason we fail, there's two things to explore. There's a factual reason why we failed, which are facts. So for example, when I look at my experience as an entrepreneur, my last company was very successful, but at some point we had some trouble. There was reason there. And also we need to look at the emotional reason. So I invite you, not already on the call now, but maybe take some notes about that, to look at when did you fail in life. We all failed. And you can go as early as you want. You failed an exam, you were not as good as you think. So then ask yourself why you failed. Did you train enough? Did you try hard enough? Were you, not good at it? Were you not having enough motivation at some point? So why did you fail there? And how did you felt about it at the time when that failure happened? How did you felt about it? What did other people told you, especially your parents, your loved ones, your best friends? How did that make you feel at the time? And last question, how are you feeling about it today? Very often we're still there. We're still 5 years old, 10, 15, 20. We're still in the same feeling. And from those feelings of experience of failure come the shadow work we have to do, because that plays a big role in when I say, I can't do this. Oh, someone's going to do better than me. So it might be about a very different subject. You might try to, build a company. You might try to learn skills. You might try to, create something. But your limiting belief about your capacity to succeed in the past are going to apply today. And you're going to say, oh, I just can't do it. I don't have the money for it. I'm not good at it. But it doesn't come from that because you've never done it before. So clearly it has nothing to do with that new enterprise. But somehow you're already projecting on it. You see how we are, we're just projecting on it. Oh, I just can't do it. It's not going to be possible because X, Y, and Z. I know I'm not good at that. Often when I do coaching with people say, no, I know I'm not good at it. I'll never be good at it. So we have that set and we have to do that exploration, because if not, we're going to limit ourselves, and it's really hard to succeed in whatever we want to go towards if we are held hostage by those old beliefs. The second one, limiting belief and shadow, is our relationship with money. And it's a big one, especially in the spiritual community. So we can have a lot of belief about it. Money is great, I love it, but money is bad. Or it should not be about money. I often hear that when I work with people in the community. I don't want to charge people for this. It's not about money. It's not the reason I'm doing it. No, it's not about money. Or I can't charge that much. Or money doesn't bring happiness. Or I've seen money in my family destroy my whole family about the heritage and everything. And so in the same way here, you have to explore it about what's factual about it and what's emotional, and go back in time. When did you build a relationship with money? What was your first connection with money? Were you in a family that had enough money, not enough money? Were you in a family that money was like a god, or in a family where money was like a devil, or something in between? Or do you live in a community or in a religious community, whatever it is, where money is seen a certain way? And that's very important to explore because that brings a big layer of capacity to succeed and to attract money, because it's very hard to have a fulfilling life where we attract abundance and we're taken care of if we believe that what we should receive is not okay. That's not going to happen. And we might have a good income, we might be okay, but we might be limiting ourselves to reach our purpose, to really have a bigger impact by just limiting ourselves how we see that relationship. The third aspect to explore is the one around success. And it can be linked around money because for some people, success is measured by money. But it's more question I want to ask you. Say, okay, what is success for you? And what's your relationship with success? More people say, oh, I don't want to be successful. I don't want to be famous. That's what people think as success. Or success is not about money. Or success is being recognized in my community or my family by X, Y, and Z. How do your parents measure success and when they look at you? How do your friends do it? Is that your belief about success, or is it something you've learned because you are in that environment? Success might be to be like my parents, or not at all like my parents. I literally have seen the extreme case in my coaching clients. Or to be like my friends, or to be like my teacher. That's success to me. Is that your belief, or is that something you've learned? Is it truly your purpose and your core belief? Or is it something you've learned just because you love your teacher or you love your friends? So here also looking at factual and emotional on your shadow work on that is really important. And the last one, I like to put it there because, I believe that most of you here are on a spiritual path or exploration, is what is your belief around the mixing of business and spirituality? Where does it itch here? You can be spiritual and have a big business. I heard that before. Business and principles don't apply to spiritual principles. They are opposites. That's another belief. Or they can be very aligned. Yeah, look at this person that created this huge company that makes so much impact. Business is bad. I don't want to be in the business world. People in the business world are horrible. Corporation is all what's wrong about the world. Those are beliefs. They are not reality. They are belief. And we might be in a community or in a big extended community or in a family that believe that it's our truth. It became our truth. But once again, unless we explore that, what's there, and there's no right and wrong answer, by the way. I'm not saying business is good with spirituality or is bad with spirituality. There's no right or wrong. It's just knowing what we believe here and what it prevent me from achieving. Where is it a blockage on the way? So there's a lot there to explore. And one of the things now I want to talk about, which is probably the core of what I want to talk about today, is what I call the 4 golden keys to have a successful, fulfilling, and purposeful life. And very often people reflect on what they love, what they're good at, and if they're spiritual, maybe what the world needs. And they try to mix the 3 of them together and say, this is my life purpose. This is how I'm going to bring my offering to the world. And if you think about what you love and maybe what you're good at, that's your passion. So that's only one aspect of it. It's just your passion. If you think about what you love and what the world needs, that's your mission. So love and good, that's passion. Love and what the world needs is your mission. And you think, well, that fits pretty well. What if I bring what I'm good at, what I love, and what the world needs? That sounds pretty good. Yeah, you might feel fullness and delight in it, but it's missing a component, which is not going to bring abundance. It's missing another component, which is, what can I be paid for? How can I be taken care of by doing that? And if you think about what you can be paid for and what you're good at, that's your profession. That's where the two meets. Good at, can be paid for. What can be paid for and what the world needs, that's a vocation. So if you're in that corner down there, you're paid for it, you're good at it, the world needs it, you're getting comfortable because you're going to make an income and all of that, but you're going to be feeling an emptiness there because it's missing what you love. And you can take those four corners. So now I want to share it with you so you can look at it, how it looks all together. And it's a concept, it's a Japanese concept for a reason for being. It's called Ikigai. And it has those four corners in it. And you can probably see where you've been feeling good or bad and why it's always missing something, because we're trying usually on three corners and not on the four. You know, if you're doing something you love and you can be paid for and what the world needs, but you're not already good at, you're going to feel uncertain. You're going to mix some skills. You're going to feel like, oh my God, I'm going to fail at this. Or what you love, what you're good at, you paid for, but the world doesn't really need it. You're not going to feel useful. It's going to come up. And only when we can come at the center here of these four corners can we really feel that sense of fulfillment. And paid for could be exchanged. You know, there's many ways to be paid for something. But obviously, if you're always, lacking resources, maybe that's what's missing here. Or if you're feeling always that you're not good enough at something, you're going to miss one of the corner. So there is really four exploration to do here. The first one is, what do you love? And explore in depth what's behind it. Why do you love it? What's there for you? Like I talked earlier about the long-term goals of being in the countryside in nature. What do you love about it? What does it bring to you? Go deeper than just like, oh, I like to be in nature. No. What is it there? What's the purpose there? What's behind it? What is it really feeling inside of you? The exploration on what you're good at is really important because it's kind of an honest check about, okay, I can do this, I'm good at this, and I'm good at that. But I can also tell you about what you need to learn, what skills you need to acquire to really get in the center of that wheel here. Because there is a way to get closer to the center. You can learn skills, you can go to workshops, you can take a training. What the world needs, and the world needs so many things, there's like plenty of needs out there. So you have to explore that with the other corner. Because if not, you're going to be overwhelmed by what the world is needing. There's so many needs, from fixing our communities to the environment, to social aspects, to many, many things that are needed. And it's going to be overwhelmed if you don't bring the three other corner and your purpose behind it. You're going to try to do something and to fix all the problems of the world, which is not going to be good at it. Because it's really hard to do that at once. So, and the what can you be paid for? Obviously, it's not enough to look at that, but it's essential in the exercise we're doing it here and in executing on your mission. If not, you're going to feel strains, you're going to feel insecurity, you're going to feel fear, you're going to feel resentful, not taken care of. And also, you're not going to dedicate the good time in your days and your weeks for your mission, because you're going to be in survival. So you're going to spend a lot of time for survival and not enough time for executing on your purpose. So the big question here is, how do we go from this idealistic vision to a concrete, actionable plan to materialize this dream and this vision? So the step here, I mentioned some of the steps, but the first one is the shadow work and the limiting belief work. That's the most important. If there is one you need to start tomorrow, start diving into that. Then obviously the skill review and the skill that's needed. What do I need to learn? Do I need training? Do I need mentoring? Do I need to do volunteering somewhere? Because I want to do this, but I don't have that skill. And we have to be so self-honest about that. Say, well, this big dream, I want to do that, but have I ever done that before? Do I know what it takes? Like when I started my company, my internet company, I was like, oh yeah, I'm good at that, but I didn't know how to start a big internet company. I never built a big website. So I knew where my lack of skills was, and I knew that's where the problem were going to come. So I knew that's where I needed to be trained, because if not, I was going to fail if I don't do that. So we need to be very self-honest, say, hey, I really want to create that, but right now I'm missing those 2 or 3 skills. So that brings me to the last point, which is time and patience. We might be, hey, to get that skill really right, to do what I want, it's going to take me 2 years. So I need to learn that because that's a key component of it. And I want to study that. I want to study that domain, that area, that type of life to really see what's there. Because if not, we can have an utopian dream that say, oh, I want to go live on the farm and walk that way. But do you really know what it means to live there? What is the daily life of a farmer? I mean, some of you know I used to be a veterinarian for farmers, for big animals. And I've seen that life from close. And I went from a really idealistic, utopian view of, oh, I would love to have a farm one day, to a much more realistic of what it takes. What is the daily life there? What are going to be the problem? Because no place is going to be without problems or without pain or without challenges. So it's better to know and to really study what's there for me, because before I embark on that big project and I spend 5 years of my life and then realize, wow, I didn't realize there was all those problems there and those issues there. So that brings me to really starting into the executions of how do we get to it. And that's where we need a plan. And I like to have, that's how I structured it, that's how I learned it with my teachers, and it works really well, to have a 5-year plan, a 1-year plan, which is like 2019, and then that comes down into a monthly plan and a weekly and daily plan. And I know it sounds like very overwhelming, very brainy, very mind-driven, but there's no achievements of any goals, long-term goals, without smaller goals. Because in the same way I shared earlier, if you say, well, I want to do this big thing, saving the planet, saving the environment, building this or that, if you don't bring it down to smaller goals, it's going to be overwhelming. And you're never going to feel a sense of success. The problem with the big goals is that if it takes 3 years to achieve, for 3 years, you're going to feel miserable. But if you slice it into mini goals, there's going to be victories every month and every week and maybe every day. So there's things to celebrate. And that's the most important in this goal planning, is to be able to slice our goals down enough so we can celebrate small achievement. I give you an example. Say one of my goals is to write a book. I've been saying that for 10 years, 5 years maybe. And if I just put it out there like that, it's never going to happen. But if I say, okay, 2019, I want to write that book on this subject. So in January, I need to write the summary or make the research about it. In February, I need to write the summary. In March, I need to write chapter 1. At the end of each month, I can celebrate something and I'm getting closer to my goals. And the body loves that. It loves celebration. It loves self-rewarding. And say, you know what, if I finish my summary in 3 weeks instead of 4, I'm going to take a little weekend off. Or I'm going to go to nice restaurants. Or I'm going to celebrate, whichever way. So you have the self-rewarding along the way. So it's really important. And if we don't do that, what happens is that in our time management of the day and the week, the priority, which is your life purpose, which is getting to those goals, is replaced by the emergencies. The day is taken over by what we have to do. Going to do the laundry and cooking and doing our tax return and, all the things that comes our way, answering our friends and going to that party and doing that thing, we get swallowed into what's important, what's urgent, what you have to do now, instead of what's really important, which has to do with you, which has to do with your goals. And unless we slice it down that way, we're never going to be able to do that. So I'll go more into details about on the next workshop we'll be doing about that, but that's the key component to achieve it. Unless I can write that 5 years, that 1 year, that I slice into months, and I slice my months into weeks and say, okay, this week I need to do that. And that's important. That's really the key things. And I'm going to dedicate an alpha day just for that, or 2 alpha days for my shadow exploration, because that's what's important. In January, I want to explore my shadow. If I don't put it in my agenda, it's not going to happen because my life is going to take over. But if it's really important to me, I'm going to block time, like I block time for my friend, like I block time for whatever other activity I have. And that's the key in achieving those goals, to be able to get close to the purpose. I've never achieved something without doing that, because then it's going to take forever if I don't do it. And I don't fully bring my mind to it. And I get distracted by many other things. And basically I float. And a year later I look and it's like, what did I really do for that thing that really matters to me? And I realize I haven't moved much on it. Because like I said earlier, when I started, there is that tension between surrendering to something bigger and being in action, making it happen, that free will that we have. And so to bring a spiritual process to it and kind of a container to it, because I talked a little bit about that earlier, it's good to have a daily morning practice. So it could be your prayer, your intention, your meditation, presence to connect to it. But make sure that weekly also you incorporate some of those goals into it. So you're still present, you're connected to your body, you're connected to the sensation when we did the question at the beginning of the workshop today. So you're connecting to that always. And then on a weekly basis, you incorporate the shadow work, the self-limiting belief work, and the review of the weekly achievements. Am I doing anything about it? Because very often we're not doing anything. That's the only reason it's not happening, by the way. There's no external forces that's preventing it. It's not a lack of resources. It's not a lack of skills. It's not a lack of support from anyone. It's a lack of self being like centered. Like, how can I say that? Yeah, being just present with it and making sure we are committed to it. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Commitment. Self-commitment to it. How important it is for me. And that brings me to my last point, which is an important one, which is why do people fail at creating the life of their dreams? What's in the way? So, and that's based really on just my experience, and I read a lot about it and successful people and failure and success and what's there. Very often one of the elements is the unrealistic knowledge and study of the space we want to be in. We have an idea about it, a dream about it. Like me, I wanted to be a farmer 15 years ago, or 20 years ago. It was not maybe my life purpose because I didn't do deep dive work in it, but I had this idea that I wanted to live on the farm and raise animals. But I probably would have failed at it because I had no knowledge about it, really real knowledge, like studying it, talking to people doing it, looking at what's not just what's good, because that's going to attract me anyway if I want to do it. No, but what's difficult there? What's hard about it? Why do people fail at it? What are all the farms out there that are closing, and why do they close? What's wrong about it? I'm sure they were amazing farmers and people are really big heart into it. They love it. It was their life. Why did they fail? So really having the knowledge and the skills required there, say, oh yeah, they failed because they didn't have financial skills, or they didn't see the market changing, or they stay stuck in a product that they were doing 20 years ago that nobody wants to buy anymore. What is it? The other reason is because there is a misalignment between the goals and the purpose, between our long-term goals and our purpose. That's a big reason of failure. Very often we mix both of them, so we think our long-term goals are our purpose, and so it's very hard. So there's basically misalignment because there's not enough a deeper purpose exploration. The third one is a lack of true commitment, because it can require really hard work. However you look at it, success only comes for people that really spend a lot of time working at something and studying and learning and learning from our failure. The missing of a plan is another big one. So we have a lack of visibility of the steps. We want to get there, but it's like, oh, I want to hike that mountain, but I'm going about it without knowing by where can I climb it? What am I going to need on the way? Some people failed and came back. They never get on the top. What did they fail? Am I better at it? Or am I just like dreaming that I can do it? So same thing, having a plan and knowing the steps and what I need. Say, oh, I might need to train before on a smaller mountain. Or maybe I need to learn that. Or maybe I need to be mentored by someone else that has done it before. Very often, the big one, the big in room is the shadow and limiting belief that's in the way of it. That's for most people. For all of us, that's what's preventing that execution. Because we don't do deep shadow work or self-limiting belief work. We say it's my beliefs, this is what I believe, this is what I want to do, this is what I know. And we take that as written in the stone. So we're preventing something much bigger to flow through us when we do that. And another big one is not having enough resilience to failure. And I talk about failure exploration at the beginning here, and I think that's the most important. Knowing when do we give up? Why do we give up? When did we give up in our lives? And when we can get to the root of that, then when it comes again, when the feeling comes again in our bodies, when we come in contact with that again, then we can know, oh, I'm usually giving up when it comes to that point. So can I go through here? Can I go further? So really knowing that. So we don't fail. Most people think, oh, because of lack of resource, I don't have enough money for doing it. One can always raise money, find people who have money, find people who are interested in the project. It's always possible. Or lack of contacts or lack of skills. You can always train, learn new skills. A lack of resilience, that can be explored. Always, we can become more resilient. That's needed. But it's never because of all those things. And that's usually why people stop. Oh, it's too difficult. Or I'm too old. Or this is in the way. And we take it as granted there, or something that's basically fixed, and there's no way we can go deeper into it. So there's a lot there. I know I talked for almost an hour. And, I gave you some exercise, and I really invite you to do those exploration, especially the 20-minute game on the exploration of the life purpose. The question I shared at the beginning, I invite you to feel them more and to sit with them more. Doing the exploration on the limiting beliefs, so self-worth, really important. So success, failure, the factual reason and the emotional reason I talked about. Money, success, because that's going to bring you on a deeper journey of like, oh wow, you're going to discover a gem there. What's really in the way. And you're going to realize it's very often self-planted, or it's been planted a long time ago. And it just became that big tree. And that's all what we see. We can't see the forest anymore. And so we need to be able to step back to be able to see that bigger vision. And once again, I think if I can really something that's really dear to me when I talk to people that are talking about what they want to live in their life, make sure you don't mix that goal of where you want to be and how it needs to look like with your life purpose. It's two very different things. Because then you're going to miss making it much bigger than what you can see today. We can never see how it's going to look like. It's impossible. But if we miss and say, well, I need to live there, I need to do that, then you're going to be really on a very low level of what's possible and not open to possibilities. So I really encourage you to, to do that work, to explore it. And for those of you who are interested, so I'm sharing that now. I think I gave you the dates at the beginning. Where are they? Here. We will have 3 workshops, 3 times 2 hours, on February 6th, February 12th, and March 5th. So it's starting in a month from now. I'll be posting it on my website and online, so you'll be able to find it. We're only going to take 10 people in it because I want to be able to do a lot of one-on-one with everybody that's interested. So if you want to register, I invite you to register once it's there. I'm probably going to put that on tonight or tomorrow. And we can go much deeper in it. There's more tools to it, but at least, give you some exploration. And, if you're not feeling called to it, that's fine. Just do this exercise. Spend some time with the Ikigai because there's a lot there in that wheel. And see where you are there on that 4 corners. Where are you? Are you on the upper left? Are you a bit there? Most of the time we are somewhere, but not really at the center. Well, we are a bit there or a bit there. So explore where you are there and just say, oh, what's on the other side? I'm not really there. And explore that corner, the corner that's missing. And if you feel a strong reaction to it, something that overwhelms you, or want to make you puke because you're like, ugh, I don't like that, there's something big there to be discovered. And that's where you can come full circle. And that's where it's going to align. And that's where abundance is going to come. And that's really important. It's all right there, and nobody can do that work for you. I can only guide you and hold that space for you, but I cannot really go do that deep exploration. But trust that there is something much bigger possible there. There's a dream that's bigger than the dream you have. I know that for sure, 100%, no doubt. So I don't know if you have any questions or anything you want to know. So you can just put in the chat box or unmute yourself. And if not, I'll be sharing, like I said, this recording. You gotta be able to go back to it. And I'm excited to maybe see some of you in February at our workshop and go deeper. And you will see that changed everything to do that work. It's already essential. We should learn that at school. I should not be the one teaching it. We should have learned that in our schools, But obviously, nobody's going to teach you how to change a system. The system that's teaching it is not going to teach you that. So we need to learn it somewhere else. Thank you, everyone. Wishing you a wonderful evening. Thank you for tuning in. So nice to see your beautiful face. So many familiar faces here. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you in a few weeks, in 4 weeks from now. Love you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye.